Welcome back to Jess Saying. Today's guest isn't just a spiritual healer, he's a warrior. A disabled Navy veteran turned Native American holy man, D. Paul, has made it his mission to confront darkness, cleanse haunted places, and guide others to healing through faith, tradition, and courage. With experiences that blend prophecy, danger, and divine insight, D. Paul lives as a holy bone, a vessel through which a great spirit speaks. Get ready for a powerful conversation about walking between worlds, fighting spiritual battles, and what it truly means to survive. Let's get to it. Friends, welcome back. I'm here today with a spiritual warrior. His name is D. Paul. Welcome to the show.
Jessica, how are you? Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm excited to learn a little bit about you because it's all, it's not stuff that I normally do on my show on usually. So I'm very intrigued in the whole story. So, okay. So let's go back. Let's start with your journey. You're the beginning. Can you share a little bit about your time in the Navy? And oh, by the way, thank you for your service. I have best friends that are in the military, and what you guys do is very important for our country. So thank you so much, first of all, for that. But can you tell us a little bit about your spiritual path and how that began?
So, which one do you want me to? Where do you want me to start?
Let's start a little bit about the Navy because I always love to hear like what got you in it and how made you stay in it, and how did you like it, and did you travel a lot? Let's go there because I think that's interesting.
So, I had gone all the way around the world by the time I was 19.
Oh,
Okay, left the East Coast, came back through the Indian Ocean and through the Panama Canal with a short visit, a few weeks in Australia before we transited through the canal. And so I get the glory of saying that I've earned a number of nautical titles, from a shellback to a blue nose to an Order of the Ditch to a Christ, I forget what the Order of Magellan, I think, is around the world cruise, and all before I was, let's say, 20. So
that's insane.
Well,
You're like my age
um,
too. 'Cause that would have been about the same time because I was thinking about going with my friend. She's in the Marines, and I was thinking about doing it, but she ended up going and I didn't. And she ended up in the Pentagon. I want to believe she was a master sergeant at the end, maybe higher. I don't really know. Anywho, but it takes a special person to go in the military, and I swear I was 2 inches away. But and I was 19 when I would have went in, and so, but man, I'm looking back at that age in my life, and what you had accomplished already by then is insane. At least to me. Just saying.
well, I was 17 when I went in, and there was a gentleman with a very well tailored shirt and tie and a black overrobe that he would put on when he sat on his elevated perch, overlooking his flock of folks who were there. Not because they were willing to be in front of him, because they were so ordered. And I was in the military when I was 17, and prior to that, I was everything from homeless to on my own from a very young age. So it's been an interesting life.
Well, you have a story to tell just in that right there. Right?
Yeah, yeah. I
And
wrote books on this stuff. 2,442 Steps to Crazy is the first book I wrote, and it walks you through the first 14 years of my life. Book 2 of that's coming out soon. It'll probably be out by the time you air this. And then I went into a book called A Date with Suicide, which addresses the reasons behind why so many veterans are killing themselves, and that led me to the writing more. And now I'm writing mystery series and Mysteries at the Wyndham Inn. So still do a lot of work in the heavy areas where people need help, but I also like writing in the the more mystical, fun stuff. The spooky stuff that I get to see.
so how many books have you written so far? A total?
So I've got 3 published right now. Another one's out here soon. I've got, I don't know, a dozen of them sitting in the computer.
So that's crazy. But I feel like you're kind of like me in a little bit. It's writing comes a little bit easy to you, does it not? It seems like if you can get that many out as quick as you've been doing them, it seems like I'm just saying because I'm finding because I'm starting to write, but I'm finding that, and I'm doing it later in life. Did you always know that you wanted to be a writer, or did you like were you in the Navy and you're thinking like that would make a good book, or did you never really thought?
Nope. I never read a book in high school, barely got out of high school. And I worked
Yeah,
full time my senior year. And the only reason I graduated from high school is because the military required um, a diploma. So if you dropped out of high school, you wouldn't be allowed in the military. And
yeah.
I didn't get in the military. Then I had a gentleman in a black robe who wanted me to revisit him. So I had to do what I had. I did what I did. But there's nothing in my makeup that said to anybody that I would be an author, let
So
alone
can
a
I?
best-selling published author. Right?
Yeah, that's true, huh? I mean, gosh, I mean, I'm aspiring to be just like you. Um, so
It's very kind of you, but I you know if it wasn't for computers, spell check, and folks out in the editing world,
Grammarly, right?
I might, people would think I'm writing in Russian, because they wouldn't be able to make heads or tails. But no, the gift of being able to write, I firmly believe, is a combination of my experiences and great spirit. Because I can feel the power coming through me when I write, and this is why people tell me that they are so ingrained in everything that I write because it comes from passion and excitement and terror. And people say they're a fly on the wall, listening, not really reading. They're really engaged in the storyline and the characters and the emotions. So that gift is all goes to something a hell of a lot more powerful and smarter than I am.
I love that. So can we talk a little bit about your spiritual path and when did that start?
Jessica, this is your podcast. You can ask me
Oh,
anything, and
thank you.
don't be surprised if I answer everything.
I'll answer. Wait, yeah, go ahead. Please, I'm okay with that. Let's get there. I'm okay with that. I want to know what started your spiritual path.
So I was born with gifts. Okay, I could see things, sense things, know things. This crazy bastard that my mother ended up with. It's his title. I you know, call him crazy. Right? Steps to
I
crazy.
love
It's
that.
about the crazy bastard that I had to deal with for the first, until I was 13, 14 years old. But I had a brutal, brutal upbringing, and match that with what I could see, sense, and know. I can piss people off just by walking into a room right now. Imagine being 5 or 6 years old and looking at this stepfather who is just a lying, dark energy in a skin suit, and you're calling him out, right? And you're telling him that he's lying, and you're saying what you're doing is not true, and you can see parts of his past, right? I've always seen, and there's no doubt in my mind that he murdered people, and I could see one of the women that he murdered. So when you're seeing butchered women standing on staircases next to the guy that's supposed to be your protector, and they're pointing at him and saying, "Don't go near him."
So you had
It makes
balls when
for
you
an
were
interesting it
like
makes
you. I
for an
mean,
interesting childhood.
so you called him out even when you were younger and you had the
Oh, yeah.
balls to do that. I mean, that takes some strength. I mean, I was always afraid of my dad. I wrote my book. One of my chapters is called The Belt, the Hand, or the Hanger, because my dad used to ask me how I wanted it. And, but I mean, I don't know. Living with somebody that, you know, is dangerous is a whole nother ball of wax. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, in Steps to Crazy, the end of the book leaves off in the life and death struggle between me and that crazy bastard. Cops are kicking through the door, or kicking in the door, and my sisters are screaming. But somebody damn near left there in a body bag, and it wasn't me.
When was that? What age were you at that age?
I was either 13 or 14. I really can't remember. Um,
Yeah.
which I can't remember what exact year it was. I keep getting confused between 13 and 14, but it seems about right. I think 14, but I think I was really 13. And that's when I was left and was living on the streets.
So you've had visions, or do they come in dreams, or how does that transpire? How does that work?
So you kind of have to step back and kind of open your mind, because there is no limit to what I've, see, sense, know, visions, dreams, um, from just terrifying stuff to stuff you don't want to know, but I get to know anyway. To everything from war to cancer to um, other things. Let me give you an example. Maybe 20, 30 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, my wife and I went out to a bar. Kind of ditched our kids, right? And said we're going to go play for a little while. And we're in this hometown packed bar, and this woman brushes up against my forearms, and without an ounce of thought, my head snaps. I look at her and I said, "Oh, you have cancer." Right now, yeah, right. Imagine a bar, right, with the music and the people and so on, and you hear my voice. Now, let me get a little bit animated, and you'll really hear my voice. Well, she heard my voice. She turned white, and her boyfriend, who was, right next to her, who's this guy was like 12 foot 4 inches tall. Okay. He saw the look on her face, but didn't hear what I said. Right. She turned white. He turned red. Okay. And I'm like, yeah, boy, here we go. Right. She looks at me and says, "How did you know? I just found out this morning and I haven't told anybody." Okay. Now she reaches over and puts her hand on her boyfriend's arm, and she wouldn't break eye contact with me. And I'm like, oh boy, I gotta get out of here. So I kind of tapped my wife, and she knew what I meant. And she kind of steps in between, and the lady just starts peppering questions. And I don't want anything to do with this conversation. I didn't want anything to do with saying to her, "You have cancer," but spirit will talk through me more times than I care to, you know,
So it just kind of
remember.
comes out, like you can't stop it from like coming out and saying, you can't stop yourself from saying it because it has to be said. Or
No, yeah, that's correct. And I'll take
yeah,
yourself down to being a child when you said your dad would give you the was it the stick, the hook, or
the,
the
yeah, the belt, the hand, or the hanger.
right? Imagine looking at him and telling him to go fuck himself. He- I mean, these things would just come out of my mouth. All right. And my brother would look at me and goes, "Why do you say this stuff?" And I'm like, listen, I don't have any control over it. It just comes out. So, we started down this path by you asking me about, my spirituality and so on. Right. So I'm a hardcore Catholic, but not a hardcore like my wife, who's very hardcore. Okay, I take on the Christian stuff that really resonates with me, not all the power bullshit and all that stuff.
I
But
swear,
my Native Americanism,
here with you. I'm here with you because I grew up Catholic, Catholic school, Catholic church, all that. But I've kind of, well, you can never get away from the Catholic guilt that's like ingrained.
there you
But
go.
I,
Just
I, I can't get away from it. Still feel it, but I do now. I feel more, I'm a Catholic or Christian faith than I am in
are
the
you
Catholic
are
faith.
you
And
questioning?
am I questioning my Catholic faith? I don't question it. I
Never.
just don't practice it. No, I mean, it's
Well,
just, I learned,
if you're not practicing it, you're questioning it.
well, that's true. I mean, I just feel that when I go to the or Christian church, and when I go to church now, I just feel closer to God than I did when I was as a Catholic. I don't know why, I just do. And so because of that is why I feel that I'm Christian more than I am Catholic. Does that it makes I was actually married in the Catholic church. All my kids were baptized. I was baptized in the Catholic church. I just feel closer to God, and I feel close. I mean, I feel like I'm close to God sitting right here. I don't have to go to church to be close to God, but, um, yeah. But what I'm saying is when you go to church in a Catholic church and you go to church in a Christian church, there are two different things. And, I don't know, maybe it's just because I grew up in the Catholic church, and I was so bored all the time. And that still just sits on top of me. Like, can I just get through it? Like, ring the bell already. And I just don't sit. For some reason, I just have that feeling when I go to the Catholic church. It's kind of juvenile in a way. But so when I go to the Christian church, I cry. I feel very close to God. And I cry when they sing and I cry when they talk. And I'm like, my friend's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I just give me a tissue. Just leave me alone. Because the Holy Spirit just moves through me when I'm there. So I don't know. That's just me in a nutshell. I'm sorry. I always go off on a tangent on this show, and sometimes I talk about myself way too much. So let's roll it back a little bit. So tell me a little bit about so you how because you have a native heritage, right?
Yes.
So how did that and your Christian faith blend to guide you through your calling, what you're doing currently?
That's one of the biggest questions people ask me, and I'm still dumbfounded that people can't understand that a person like me exists, right? I mean,
I believe it.
well, um, how do you balance the two? And to me, it's more of a it takes more effort to try and answer that question than it does to understand how I have faith in both the baby Jesus and Great Spirit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Trinity was with the Native American culture eons before, the Europeans landed on the shores. Okay. Or came up through Mexico, whichever way you want. Was it Spain that brought, um, Christianity, or was it the pilgrims, right? Kind of looks to me like it came from both directions. But I don't have a conflict with it because I've spent the time to understand, and balance myself in a position between, what the average person would consider two different faiths, right? I don't call my Native American faith or beliefs, I don't call it a religion. I just call it a way to exist, and be as one with, all the things around you. Am I good at it? Probably not. Do I try to? Yeah, I do. But I also try to be a good Christian or a good Catholic. I mean, Catholics are Christians, right? Okay.
Right. I
But when
agree.
somebody stands up there and starts playing the power game, and the guilt game and the shame game, that's not God. That's not spirit. That's not love. That's power. Okay. And I've left, I've walked out of the churches with saying a few words to the preachers. One time he said, "You're sinning if you don't pray for priestophiles," and I damn near lost my mind. Okay, I mean, my wife had to tug on me to, and beg me, "Please don't embarrass me." So I waited till the
Your
last.
duty as a wife.
I wanted to do this, but I did this.
All
Okay,
right.
and I won't. I mean, this is I don't know 5-10 years ago, and I still won't talk to that priest. Okay. Guy's a douchebag. Okay.
Yeah.
But the head priest, Father Leroy, is in my book. Okay. Mysteries of the Wind of Men. Okay. This guy is a true man of God and a representative and an awesome representative of the Catholic Church. He doesn't play power games. He knows, he's still got to play the game of the church, but he takes care of his flock. Okay. To me, that is believing in the baby Jesus. Okay.
Yeah.
So those are the things that resonate with me. And what I encourage folks to do is not, and I work very hard not to badmouth, it has no value to put other things down. So I try to walk the line without bad mouthing things, but at the same breath, trying to call things out. Right. Okay. So none of us are godly enough. We always got to do better, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But for me, it was about picking out the things that resonated with me, the things that sit right with me, the things that feel right, the things that make my soul kind of move and want me to be engaged, right? You had mentioned a little while ago, you're sitting there waiting for him to ring the bell. When you've got a preacher up there that's just, oh, Lord, please, I'm here to learn. I'm not here to listen to you drone on. Tell me something that excites me, right? I know the feeling. And I'm going to tell you right now, for what I believe in, it's never boring. And the more I've, opened myself up to the ways of God, Great Spirit, white light, the universal thing, right? The more I get to see, the more I get to understand. And honestly, the more challenging it can become. It can be fun at times, but it can also be, you know, I shouldn't say can be. It's one of the heaviest responsibilities that I've had in my life is the responsibility of being a white light warrior, responsible for helping others. That's a heavy, heavy burden. And to do it and to do it well, it takes a lot of work, Jessica.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you're putting first of all, you're right. I think God wants us to talk about him and often. So when you're putting that in your writing and you're going on podcasts and you're speaking of him, that is what I think we're all here to do. I think I wrote about God in my book, and the breadcrumbs that he leaves everywhere. I have a story of a miracle that happened to me, and I write about that too. And so I'm a true believer. Um, Trust me. Can I ask you a question? I have this down as a question that I'm down. I'm like, I don't want to murder the name. So, what does it mean to be is it Heyoka?
Heyoka.
Heyoka?
Yeah,
What
that's
does
a
that mean?
Sioux word um, for someone who um, is like a court jester at times, or a sacred clown, right? Somebody who will ride through the village backwards on a horse. Okay, someone that encourages people to look at things from an uncommon angle, or to not get caught up in the herd mentality, right? Just because, the Bible says there's 10 commandments. Are there more? Right? There's a running piece of humor that I've always kicked around where I've said, listen, Moses came down the hill with 20 commandments, right? And he dropped one on the way down and, broke. So there's only 10. Now the other 10, the total of 20, we got to figure out. And that's where God's a funny man, right? Trying to figure out the other 10 commandments. Okay. Right. I mean, listen, don't murder. All right. Well, if you join the military, what are you doing?
Right.
There's enough contradictions in the Bible to choke a mule. So to me, it's about, taking the stuff out that resonates with you. And I'm not talking about going off on tangents, like some churches will do. They say, oh, you got to play with the snakes because the Bible said, and blah, blah, blah. Right. Again, what resonates with you? That's what I focus on, because that's where my core is. And as a Heyoka, again, I was born as a Heyoka. Okay. I have always looked at things from an outside view, from a different lens. Okay. I hear things in ways that others don't. I can pick up on certain words where I know the person is trying to buffalo you. Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm constantly calling people out, on that. And again, that's part of what being a Heyoka is.
Cool. Well, I thank you for explaining, because that really does. It kind of explains you so far what you've been telling me. It really does explain you. Like that's kind of like you. I mean, I
See
appreciate
that?
that.
Native Americans put the word out there thousands of years ago, and here we are just learning about it, right?
I mean, this is what I'm in podcasting for my own personal enjoyment. No, I'm just teasing. No, because I learn things and I'm meeting people that I know are put on in my path for a reason. I know there's going to be something about this. It's going to be important in my life, and where I'm going to be able to help somebody else, or they're going to see that they too are just like you and they're going to maybe reach out. I don't know. There's something about why I'm doing this podcast, and it's definitely not for money. I can tell you that right now. Um, so, okay, let's talk about paranormal realities. So, you've investigated countless yes. Wait, let me see it again. Let me see it. I love the cover. I have to get with you because maybe I might need your person that does your cover to help me do my cover. Love it.
Well,
So
that
you've
that
investigated count. What? Go ahead.
that photograph is an actual rendition of the Wyndham Inn, a real
You know
building,
the Wyndham is that's in Colorado, right?
Connecticut.
Oh, Connecticut. Sorry, the Wyndham. Okay, I was thinking of the one from The Shining. The one from The Shining is in Colorado because we went camping one time and my dad takes us to this place and I'm like, this is The Shining, like The Shining. I'm like, what are we doing here? And it was snowing and I was like, what are we doing? Like, it was crazy. Anywho, I'm sorry, but I totally just came in my mind. Okay, so but you've investigated countless haunted locations. So, what's the one case that shook you to the core, and is that the one that you're using for your book? Just wondering.
Yeah, nothing I've ever gone out and looked into, or exercised out of somebody. I've done a lot of that, a lot of getting demons and tricksters and dark energies out of people, and places. The toughest one of the toughest ones I did was my sister, actually. That was a tough one. That's the one time that a dark energy tricked me, right? And I figured it out in short order, but for at the level that I work at, you don't want to get you don't want to get tricked, or it can be very dangerous.
So your
But
sister had an attachment, is that what you're saying? Like, she had something happening to her? And you think that might have been, like, because she was in proximity of your stepdad? Or
no, this was something else. This was something else, something that you know. I don't want to get into it. Okay,
that's okay, I'm sorry, I
'cause
didn't mean to
I
pry. I
gotta,
was
I
just
gotta be, I've got to be very careful
well,
about.
when you're talking about
I,
family and other people, I totally get it, so
well, a lot of people trust that what I do for them stays with them. So,
right.
my sister knows I talk about her, but I don't go into it too
I
much. But
get it.
yeah, I took something pretty dark out of her that tried to trick me. And the crazy part leading up to that was my wife and I were doing our gardening like we do every year, and this 7 foot tall Native American, full regalia, kept materializing in the middle of our garden, and he was pointing. Just kept pointing day after day after day. And I finally said, Terry, Chief wants me to do something. And I don't know what the hell he's asking me. And she goes, he wants you to go see your sister and clear her. I'm like, how do you know that? She goes, because he's telling me. I'm like, okay. So that was what led up to clearing my sister, which was cool because I know I have a lot of Native American around me. But to finish your question, nothing that I've gone to take care of has ever really bothered me. Again, I've seen some very gory stuff from all my life. And what's the darkness going to do? Get more gory, right? I mean, once you figure it out, they'd have a better shot dressing up as a 5'11" bombshell blonde with bazongas, to kind of distract me.
Nothing
Okay,
scares you
that's
anymore, right? What you're
right.
saying.
You
Like, you've
know,
been through war, nothing scares you anymore in a
no,
way,
I,
right?
I I don't want to say that because I'm going to tell you the one thing that truly terrified me more than crazy ever could. Right, when I was struggling with my faith and with my beliefs, and the screaming at God part of our lives, right? Why, right? The spirits that are around me, what I didn't realize was how much work the spirits do to protect me and protect you. Okay, it's stunning how much work the spirit world has to keep us safe. Okay, very few people understand this, and at that point, I didn't either. Okay, so in one of my you know ticked off moods and anti God moments, I shouldn't say anti God, anti faith moments, anger. I had demanded at everything. I don't want to. I want to be careful how I say this, you know, because I don't want it to happen again. Okay, I ordered all my protection, to leave me alone. Okay, and to the spirit world, I'm just telling a story. I don't want that to happen again. The second I watched my gatekeeper and some spirit guides literally backing up. Okay, jeez, look at the goosebumps popping up, man. Jesus. So I'm telling you, this is the only time I've truly been terrified. Okay, as they're backing up, in came this serpent-like stringy snake of pure evil. And I mean pure evil. It hit me in 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds. By the fifth count, it was full bore. I could taste it, smell it, sense it, feel it, know it. It was like the devil himself was washing himself completely over me and enveloping me in his insanity, madness, and evil.
So
Okay.
what did you do, like, in that moment? You're
So
freaking
again,
out?
this seems like eternity. So if you ever want to play in purgatory, let me tell you what can happen inside of 30 seconds of your life when you're improperly screwing around with the spirit world. Okay. If your guides pull back or your protection pulls back, you're wide open to the darkness. Okay. So as soon as I realized my mistake, man, my first was to my gatekeeper apologizing, please come back. And then I went right to Archangel Michael. And as true to form, in they came, quick battle took place, and I could feel the stuff coming off of me, but they left a few pieces as a reminder, right? And it took me years to get that shrapnel, that spiritual shrapnel out of me. Okay. People say to me, "Do you have any regrets with all of my life?" And I say, "Of course," but and then they follow up, "Will you change it? Would you have changed anything?" I say, "You can't change anything, or you wouldn't be here now. It's not how it works."
Right.
That right there, that story right there, is the one thing that I wish I didn't have to experience, but I
Yeah.
know that I did. Okay, so it was terrifying, and as time passed, okay, I understood not only my mistake, but the power of darkness. Okay. And of course, in comes white light and overtakes it all. How's that
Yeah.
for a story?
You're a really good storyteller. Don't get it twisted. You can write. Like, I mean, at least you have it in your head. Get it on paper. You're really good at that.
Well, that's funny
I
you say that because a lot of everybody that reads my books, they say the same thing. They say, "Man, people have called in sick because they stayed up all night reading my book."
well, I
It's
wish that
crazy.
would be the case for my book, but I truly highly doubt it. So yeah, I'm on board with what you said. I truly believe that when I now can see when things are happening around me, and I always say, "Oh my gosh, thank you." Like, I thank him every time something happens to me because I know that that person just protected this situation for, or made me turn this way so I would not get hurt on the right, or made me do this. So, do you know what I'm saying? And I recognize it a lot. I know I sounds kind of kooky, but a lot of times I'm like, and in the moment I will say, "Oh my gosh, thank you." Like, "Thank you so much," and I'm like, I truly believe I have somebody guy helping me. Like, I really do. And I have a story in my book I write. I just want to tell you because I know this isn't about you, but I'd like to tell you about it. So, I went to college, and in my college, one of my college classes, it was in marketing, and this girl brought in her jams because she wanted to sell her jams for her farm, and she gave us all business cards. Well, I had graduated, and it was like a year later, and I had moved into this house, and I had a few boxes left over from the move that I was going to ditch. Or give to Goodwill, and so I'm dumping out my box of files and everything from school, and down floats this card, and it's face up, and I finish dumping all my stuff. And I look down, I pick up the card, and I was like, "Oh, this girl had jams, pretty good jams." I go, maybe order some more. So I put it in my back pocket. And this is, I think this is around COVID. Yeah. And I went to the store the next day, and I had been thinking, because I thought to myself, before I dump all this stuff into the dumpster, maybe I want to save it because I might want to get a master's degree. And I thought to myself, I'm not smart enough for a master's degree. Like, I'm never going to do it. And so I just dumped it all. And so then but I put the thing in my back pocket. And then the next day I go to the grocery store, and this girl comes walking towards me, and her hair was lit up because of the sun was shining through a window, and she had these really curly hair, and her hair was look, she was glowing, and she walks towards me, and we recognize each other. And it was the girl from the jams that I had not seen for like a year and a half or something. Right. And I see her, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh." I go, I'm wearing the same jeans. It was kind of gross, but I'm like, "Oh my God, look, I got your card here. It was in my back pocket." And we just thought how coincidental that we run into each other. And that's just really weird. And then I ask what she's doing, and she says she's getting her master's degree. And she says, "You can do it, Jessica. It's really easy. What I'm doing, I'm going to Grand Canyon University, and it's really not that hard. You can do it online." And she just basically took away all of my fears and all the questions that I couldn't do it, or all the things. And I just in that moment thought to myself, like, God's telling me, go get your master's degree. He wants me to do it. He showed me the card. I had the thoughts about the master's degree, and that I was thinking about it all the day before. I run into her out of nowhere. I didn't even think we lived near each other because I moved since I went to school. I mean, I had moved 20 miles away. So somehow we were at the same grocery store the next day. And then I we meet each other, and then I go home, tell my husband that day, God's telling me to go to get my master's degree. Can I go do it? And he's like, yeah, of course. But anyways, I just wanted to say that like God will show you things. You just have to open your eyes and realize, you know, the things that are put before you. And I truly believe that, I truly believe in your story. I truly do. And I think that there's times when he's protecting me. And I know that there's times when I'm being shown, a path. And I know also that things happen to you for a reason, because he's training you for your either a battle or something that you have to go through later in life. And so I've been through a lot of crap when I was younger, kind of like you. And I think he's just preparing me for something important. And I guess I just totally went off on a tangent there, but the story is important. And like I said, God puts me on this earth that I talk about him and, my journey through life and with him in it. And I want other people to like embrace it. People don't talk used to when we were younger, they didn't talk about their faith like we can do now. It's more, people do now, and it's okay. And when we were younger, it was something that you really talked about with people. So I think it's important. And that's why I like to do it on my show.
The same is true for Native Americans. When I was a kid, I wouldn't let you talk about it.
Yeah. That weird.
When I
Like
went in the military and told them I was a Native American, they said, "No, you're not."
like you're in the Navy. That's what you are.
No, no, they wouldn't let me. They wouldn't let me do my enlistment papers as a Native American. I had to
What?
claim I was white. Yeah.
That's insane. You think they don't have that now? Do you think? No.
In
Yeah.
fact,
Everything.
my grandfather ran away from the boarding school um, out in Colorado, or who the hell was he? Well, his mother was in not Colorado. His mother was in Oklahoma. My great grandmother. He jumped reservation. She jumped reservation. He jumped the boarding school and joined the Navy at 14. And said he was white because you didn't join as a Native American or others. But yeah, he did, and he rode submarines in World War II. Right up until 1965 when he died, when he got out of the military and died in '69. And I went and followed in his footsteps and joined the submarine corps.
Well, you know what? It was it was all meant to be, obviously, because God, everything that happens to you is the way it's supposed to happen. It's the way
Yes,
yeah, I
yes,
agree with that
yes.
totally.
And when I and everybody else out there goes through their, what the f, Jesus, what's going on here? Why? When you're done, when you process all that, and you come out on the other side, and you're willing to learn, you start understanding, the armor that you are building by going through these trials and insanity. Okay. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, it's all about advancing your soul and, moving your soul forward. And, that's the one thing that you've got to be worried about protecting against the darkness, because they don't want your flesh. They don't want your bone. They want your soul and your spirit. Okay.
Yeah. We're not going to give it to him. I'm not going to give it to mine.
I'm not.
No,
I'm
I'm
not.
not.
I mean,
And I
I
will
watch,
never,
I watch
ever,
a
ever,
lot.
I will never, ever, ever do what you did and say, please take away. Cause you're just over it, right? I'm never going to say those. I can't
Yeah.
even,
It wasn't,
I'm too afraid.
I wasn't walking away from all faith because inside of me, I could still feel it. I wanted answers and I wasn't getting them. So I was
Yeah.
pissed off, So I said, listen, you folks were supposed to be protecting me and yet you didn't protect me. So back, get away, I said
No
what I
more.
said.
I'm
Okay.
done.
And what did they do? They taught me the lesson. They said, okay. And they did this. And when they did this, in came the darkness. Right. Okay. It's like, hey,
Scary.
you want to do that again?
Mm-mm.
Oh, no. No,
No.
no, I'm good. I'm good. Let's go. Right? Right here. Here we go. Here we go. I'm good. I got my feather. Let's go. Let's go. Right?
I worked for a gentleman and his wife, and they had it's called American Broker or something, and they were like brokers of, I forget, insurance or I forget something. It was so long ago. I was like 17 years old, and we were sitting in their house, and we would do Bible studies at lunch, after lunch or something, and I was all in for it because I have always been somebody that um wanted more faith in my life, not less, and but he would talk about seeing demons. And he says, you can see him, Jessica. You really can if you just, and he kind of like, he says you can see them, and I was seeing them actually. What I still to this day sometimes I'll see something like lingering around the corner, and I truly believe that I'm like, go away, I don't want you around me. Like nothing has ever harmed me or anything, but I truly believe that some people can see them, and some people don't open their eyes to think that they can. But I've always been somebody that wanted more faith in her life, not less. So I was cool with. I was just really young, and that was something that he asked of us as his employees is to read the Bible after lunch. And I was like, all right, I'm in. But then we got into the conversation about the being able to see demons, and sometimes I don't know, maybe it was subliminal that he was telling me, and I could see, at times. And so I don't know, you never know. Cause I don't see him unless I start thinking about it. Then it's on my mind. Then like a couple weeks later, I'll see something around the corner. I was like, whoa, what was that? Like, go away. Don't want that in my life. Does that make sense? I don't know. It's just
It
something
makes
that I
sense.
experienced.
Does
Yeah.
it
It's
make
just
sense
something
to
that,
you?
yeah, like
And
I
that's
just
what's
don't,
important,
I just
right?
don't know why they're hanging around. I'm like, they're not harming me or anything, at least as far as I know. Or maybe they just adjust my mood. I don't know. Sometimes that can be a pain in the ass. Um, let me ask you something, okay? Because I heard that you described yourself as a hollow bone. What does that mean? Or what does that mean in practice, like in what you do?
So for the most part, you know, I am a hollow bone. What does that mean? I have the ability and the gift of being able to move great spirits light, white light through me to where it needs to be, whether it's healing, whether it's removing darkness, whether it's, understanding what someone's going through, or anything that white light is needed for. Right? Now, the trick with the spirit world is that folks have to be invited. You have to ask for help. And this is the part that kills me. See so many people suffering, and I say, did you ask for help? And they're like, no, it's supposed to come. It's like, it's not how it works. Okay. Because if you're not asking, how's anybody supposed to know? So, a hollow bone is, you could change the word out and say a conduit, right? Uh, The ability to funnel God's light through a person to where it needs to be. So, from the Native American perspective, it's a hollow bone, like an eagle wing whistle, right? You can blow air through it, or you can move white light through it.
Have you ever feared for your life during the work that you do?
Never,
No, no.
never.
You feel
I'm one of these
protected.
people that understands. Living is tough. Dying's easy. I mean, it's just plain easy. Okay, so no, I've never. I got to tell you, growing up the way I did, it seems that all the fear was beaten out of me at a young age. So I don't really, I don't really fear it, and that I've got some pretty powerful advisors that I
God
that
put you through that. Was training you for your battles in life,
right
and
right.
you were being trained, and he was helping you during all that. He's like, I know you can take it, and he gave it to you because he knew you could take it. And then this is where you are now. You're very strong.
Listen, I say this all the time. People just walk up to me and want to pick a fight. Okay, that's the price of
Times when I
of
was younger,
being
I got kicked in the face for no reason, and then I got punched in the face for I didn't even know didn't know the person. Just twice I got kicked in the face once, and I got hit in the face for some reason. I always say I guess I got a kickable face, but whatever.
right. So no, I've never really feared the darkness. I was afraid of what I didn't understand. Okay. So like let's use a ghost for example. I mean, at first I would be like, what? Right? Wasn't afraid of it. But some of the darker shit, and some of the gory stuff, until you understand, like a poltergeist. Everybody's afraid of a poltergeist, right? Most people can't see it and it throws shit around and makes noise, bangs on the walls, and so on and so on. Once you understand that it's nothing more than a tumbleweed of dark energy that was manifested by the people living in the house normally, okay, all right, and just all the anger that comes out of people, and it collects and becomes a poltergeist. All right, once you figure that out, and then you understand how to deal with it, all right, then it's nothing to fear. So for me, I lost my fear at a very young age, especially a fear of dying. And this has my advisor. So I'm around some, some powerful spiritual advisors, and that has them worried, right? They're afraid that I'll touch darkness, and I don't understand it, and they won't fully explain it to me. So it's my burden to self worry about the fact that I don't fear going out and taking on whatever darkness God put in my path. Okay, I just don't. I fear my wife. Okay, that I'm certain of. Okay, but not in a bad way. It just but I just don't fear. I just don't fear the stuff on the far side of the veil. Save that one thing. Okay, when you've felt pure evil, there are words so far beyond fear that would explain it better, that just the English language doesn't have them.
Hmm. Can I ask you a question about the writing and
Of course.
with okay, so when you're writing your books, um guided by your ghostwriter, can you explain how how these stories actually come to you? I mean, are they stories that you've been thinking about, that you dream about, or that you've lived through, or is it a combination of all that?
Yeah. So the ghostwriting part is truly a ghost. Okay. With the mysteries of the Wyndham Inn, all right, the heart of this story is told by a ghost who is the actual narrator, who actually tells me what truly went on. Okay. So I talk with the living folks that used to reside there, right? And I talk with all the ghosts, not all of them, but a number of the ghosts that are there. There's one woman inside of that's banging on, just banging, trying to get at me because she wants her story told. She's a barmaid with, I mean, the classic. She looks like one of these German beer haulers, right?
Mhm.
With the big, bosom and she's standing on the stairs at the Wyndham Inn. And every time I think of something along that lines, the vision of her comes in, right? And I got to tell my guides to kind of keep pushing her back. She wants me to tell her story, and I'm telling you, it's going to be told, but it's not going to be told until book 6 or 7. Okay, the hanging of Miss Elizabeth is next. Okay, that's the next. That'll be book 3 and 4. Okay, but to answer your question, um, the I've told you what the ghostwriter is, an actual ghost. So I sit there and type away, and sometimes I'm eager to see what the hell's coming next. And then as I'm typing, I'm either laughing my ass off or going, "Oh, that's good," right? There's not a for a lot of what I write, there isn't a thinking process. Now, I'm not saying I don't pace and think and do all the things that an abnormal person does when they're crafting a story, right? Because I'm trying to marry, um, you know, a story, living and dead, right? Ghosts.
Yeah.
Now, that's not easy to do, especially when you're hearing ghost language and you're trying to convert it into today's,
Yeah, because are they speaking to
language.
you not in today's slang and all that? They're talking to you as of when they were living, correct?
It's kind of a mix of both. All right. Some of the phrases I don't understand, and I can see them stomping their foot and saying, like trying to find the words, just like a person. Okay. So to me, there really is no difference other than the fact that they don't have any mass, other than, some gaseous volume, right?
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? Um, does your mind go to the Wyndham, or did you physically go there? Just wondering.
Well, I don't live that far from the Wyndham End. So, I've seen that place for, decades. All right. I've always seen a ghost there, and I've always, mentioned some things about it. Okay, but it didn't really take off until a guy who did 20 years in the Navy as a medic, who's also a psychic and a paranormal investigator, and he did a couple of investigations there, and we were talking about it. And I told him that I was going to be writing this book. It was just another piece that kind of pushed me forward in writing this book. And when my book, A Date with Suicide, came out, he had said to me, "Listen, when you publish it, reach out. I want to get coffee with you, and we'll talk about it." So I published that book, and I reached out to him. Nothing, 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 nothing. So a month goes by, and um I see a post on Facebook, I believe, that there's a memorial service for this guy. And man, my heart stopped. Not because he was dead, because of the dreams I had that led up to the writing of the Mysteries of the Wyndham Inn. In my dream log, and I've got some thick dream logs, okay? It said that 3 paranormal investigators, they call them ghost, um, oh God, they call them ghost, not ghost chasers, but um, something. I can't remember. Ghost watchers. Can't remember what the spirits call these damn things. Anyway, um, so in my open, I flip over my dream log and I show my wife. I go, look, and it says right there, 3 paranormal investigators will have to surrender their lives before the true or the final tale of the Mysteries of the Wyndham Inn can be told. Man, it made every hair on my body stand up because it was terrifyingly cool, right? Now here comes the struggle. Here comes the pacing across the house as you're trying to write a story. Where do I put that in there, right? Do I
Yeah.
wait till 3, 4 years after the death? Do I, it's not, there's a lot of stuff that you have to balance when you're trying to tell mutual stories. Because I'm not looking for fame and fortune would be nice, but fame, right? Because and I don't want to and I don't want to taint the stories I'm telling by bolstering things that are just not real. Believe it or not, in most of what I write, I have to downplay things, especially in this book, Jessica. Okay, there's a lot of disturbing stuff in there, right? And if I truly said all the things that happened and the level in which it happened, okay, nobody would believe it, right?
Right.
It's kind of like saying, what's the greatest trick ever played on mankind? It's where the devil gets you to believe he doesn't exist, right?
Right.
So you either have to tell such a whopper that it's unbelievable, or you have to thread that line when you're telling a story that even though it was a lot worse, you got to bring it down so that the readers can swallow it and not close the book and go, oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
So your books, are they considered fiction though, correct? But they're real. No. So they
I
don't
don't
fall
write
in
fiction.
so they're not in the line of fiction. They're in the line of reality. It's a reality. It's a nonfiction. Sorry,
Everything I write is,
is true.
uh,
Right.
again, with some literary license.
Yes, of course.
I'm going to write a book about Obtained
We can
Document
sprinkle a little.
3. Actually, I am writing a book called Obtained Document 3, and it's about the USS Dallas, a hunt for Red October, right? And
Yeah,
an operation that we actually went on when we went after Gaddafi the first time back in the 80s.
that's crazy. Man, can I ask you a question? Do you self-publish or do you go through a publisher?
I'm self-published now. I've had some interest, but they want to change things. Like they freak out because I spell mysteries with an apostrophe Y. And I've had emails, I've had online on social media where, authors and indie authors and so on say, oh, that book, I'll never read it because you misspelled a word.
Why
And,
did you
you know,
do that? Is there a reasoning behind that?
yes. Okay.
Okay,
The
tell me.
spirit world told me to. And I said to some folks that read my stuff prior to, as I write it, but before I publish it, they, um, hold on a second. Okay. So I got to revise how I said that because they don't want me saying some of the stuff I was going to say. But the title came to me from the spirit world, and they wanted it spelled Y apostrophe S. Listen, I couldn't tell you the difference between IES or Y apostrophe S. Doesn't mean a damn thing to me or 98% of the rest of the population, right?
Right,
College boys want to spell things in a perfect world, knock yourselves out. When you come up against the editorial world where, they're like, no, 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 if you don't spell this right, people aren't going to read it. And then these dopes run around and say, the word's misspelled, we're not going to read it. Now I've read some books that are just, horrible, and they're hard to stay focused when the grammar's way off and so on and so on. But there's a far cry between, especially intentionally spelling words, and just something that kind of fell through the cracks and
right.
poorly written books
And
or
I'm
manuscripts.
sure a
Right?
title, people, if
So,
it's intentional when it's in the title, I can see it being
so
a
the
mistake inside, but the title was definitely not a mistake.
purpose behind, okay, sorry. Um, there's mysteries within the mysteries. And that's what it's supposed to do. It's
Okay.
supposed to grab people's attention because at the end of the day, there is a cipher inside of this series. And whoever can figure out the ciphers will find the treasures. Now, somebody's already picked up on the first clue, right, and reached out to confirm it. And I said, yeah, good job. And then they asked me something. I said, listen, man, you got to figure it out. All right. Now, the Wyndham Inn, which is now owned by a group that's turning it into a museum. Okay. So it's closed. Nobody's been in there for a number of years. Okay. They're now just starting to do renovations. When they tore down a wall, okay, they had all this stuff where they're like, somebody just put this wall up and enclosed all of this stuff. Okay. Like they were hiding something. And as soon as I saw that, I went, gotcha. Because they opened up a wall. They didn't know what they were opening up or what they were releasing. Okay. So there are there's quite a few mysteries within the mysteries of the Wyndham Inn.
That's cool. That's really cool. So, do you have a website that people can go to find or you're on Amazon, or where can they
Now, if you
find your
want the
book?
books, you can get them on Amazon.
Okay.
Okay. If you want to reach out, you can find me on Facebook. I've got a few social medias out there, but Facebook's is probably the easiest way to track me down, or just send me an email at dpaul@blackhawkbooks.com. But so far I haven't agreed to a publishing deal, mainly because uh, I kind of like the literary control that
Yeah.
I have. All right. And again, I've done enough to piss off the baby Jesus. I don't need to be adding more to the pile, not at this stage in life. Right.
Right. I forgot one question that I wanted to ask you before we put a pin in it and move. What message do you hope your book delivers to your readers?
Faith. Faith. Okay. Tell your story.
Yes.
Everything I write has a number of key messages in it, but faith. Okay. Find your faith. Your faith can look nothing like mine. Okay. And nothing like yours. Okay.
Right.
It could look like something that would be foreign to me. But if it's what resonates with you, if it's what really makes you get up in the morning and move or want to learn more, okay, then follow that road. It'll come to a fork. Every day, every week, every month, we're facing new and improved forks, right? We just have to keep figuring out how to take the right fork in the road. Okay. Well, faith and telling your story is a big part of that. I am honestly grateful that you opened up a little bit by, telling your past by saying it in the title of a book. A lot of people don't have that courage. Okay. I didn't
Yeah.
think it was courage until I watched the number of people come out and say to me, your books affected me. They changed my life. A Date with Suicide has just helped countless veterans and family members and so on. So the message for me is faith. And that's why I focused on, and it's in every one of my books. Keep the faith, keep moving forward.
I love it. Well, if you want to find more information about D. Paul, go to my website. It's jesssaying.net and click on podcast, scroll down, find this episode, click on his name, and it'll take you directly to his books. And on Amazon, you can go to where there's information about the author. And then also his email will also be in the podcast. You'll be able to find his email there to email him personally if you have any questions or want to take the conversation further. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on today. I had a really good time. I'm glad you decided to come on to my show, and I do appreciate you. Yes. Thank you so much too for your service. That is totally awesome. I love having people on that are from the service. It's really near and dear to my heart. So, everybody out there, just remember, be kind to one another. We live in this world together, and it just sucks if you're tearing each other down. We got to build each other up, not tear each other down. So, everybody, take care. Have a good night. Have a good day. Whatever it is for you, have that. Thank you.
Low, talking about the days we used to know. VCR tapes and dial-up tones, raising kids living with achy bones. Leather jackets and big hair days, now it's carpool PTA. Neon dreams turn into schoolyard fights, but our hearts glow in retro nights. We are Gen X, living both worlds. From cassette tapes to a digital world. Parenting now with a nod to the past. The retro love we know will last. We are Gen X, living both worlds. From cassette tapes to a digital world. Parenting now with a nod to the past. The retro love we know will last. We dance to the beats of the boombox sound. Now bedtime stories echo all around. But deep inside we're the mixtape kings, still fighting life with arcade dreams. Feeding families with a pizza slice, telling tales with a side of advice, laughing